The second pick will be made by the San Antonio Spurs. And
it's just gonna happen, isn't it? With reports of Giannis potentially being out of Milwaukee coming from Shams Charania just earlier today, and the NBA draft lottery leaving the San Antonio Spurs with the number 2 overall pick. Fans are screaming that it's rigged. The Spurs can flip the number 2 to Giannis. Least obvious trade on the way, Giannis and Wemby soon. Don't underestimate this duo. Spurs about to trade a bunch of stuff for Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's going to happen, isn't it? We got to talk about everything about the draft lottery, and not only the player it could land the Spurs, but how this trade could shatter the way the NBA looks at the draft lottery, the way fans look at the draft lottery, the way we look at the NBA as it is today. Everything's about to turn on its head if it hasn't already, and we're here to break it all down on this episode of Spurs Digest. But guys, look, hey, we're pushing for 7,000 subscribers. You like the content? You love Brian's video? Hopefully you like this one. Hit the free button down below. Let's dive into this. Look, let's start off. What are we saying about this draft lottery? I know Brian talked a lot about it earlier, but rigged, not rigged, doesn't matter. The San Antonio Spurs landing the second overall pick has a lot of fans extremely excited because, well, you get the prospect of drafting either Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper. Now, I know Dylan Harper's the favorite, but look, it's hard to say that this doesn't look suspicious. I'm just saying. I'm not going to be one of those people that's claiming it is rigged, because look, we're benefiting from it. Therefore, it's perfectly legal and perfectly fair. But as we go through all these takes here, hater central. Don't just try something for the number 1 and give 2 to the Spurs. I'm not even going to talk about the Mavericks. Part of me wants to. Part of me wants to say, what if Nico Harrison trades Cooper Flagg, or he trades the number 1 pick down? They don't have many draft picks for the future. They need something. What if they decide Dylan Harper and some other stuff sounds pretty good? We have their pick swap in 2030. I'm getting into a conspiracy theorist already here, but the big important thing here is the talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo, because as much as I love Dylan Harper, as much as I like Ace Bailey, probably like Dylan Harper a bit more. I think is what Brian likes. I think that's what most Spurs fans like, because he looks absolutely insane. And theorizing a team of Dylan Harper, who's 19, Stephon Castle, who's 20, Victor Wembanyama, 21, that being your core moving forward, not to mention not having to get rid of someone like Sochan, someone like Vassell, you're looking pretty good long term. But what if, right? This whole Giannis thing has been spiraling for days and days, and I even talked about this earlier today in the video this morning, talking about, you don't have to read all this. Feel free to pause if you want. I'm going to summarize this for you, make it a little, I'll bring my face back in here. But basically, Milwaukee, they're running out of money, right? Like, if they want to bring back Brook Lopez, they're running out of money. And right now, with Damian Lillard having that player option after next year, a season that he's probably going to miss most of, if not all of, with that Achilles injury, it's becoming tough. And as we heard from Shams Charania, teams have approached the Bucks in the past, but now more than ever, Giannis Antetokounmpo is looking like he could look at other places to go other than Milwaukee. Him and his camp are taking serious steps. And look, this is not just from today. Giannis Antetokounmpo has been unbelievable. His name has been linked to the Spurs for ages. But today, I showed you in the video earlier, the Spurs had the fourth best odds of landing him. Can't even speak. This is how much this draft lottery has shook me. 4th best odds before the lotto. After this lotto, I haven't checked since then. Probably should have, now that I'm bringing up the numbers, but I didn't. So maybe you guys can check and tell me in the comments. Regardless, it's got to be high. And I know there's people talking about including Castle, Vassell, Sochan, Filler, pick 2 and 14, and future first for Giannis. I mean, that seems like a lot. I wouldn't do that. But regardless, the number 2 pick, it just seems too good to be true. However, there's a few other things I got to get to here now. I just want to first ask you, would you trade this pick for Giannis Antetokounmpo? Straight up, yes or no? Not just the pick, obviously, but the pick plus for Giannis. Is this something you'd be willing to give up? Are you willing to give up a Dylan Harper, an Ace Bailey, whoever you have going at number 2, if it means getting Giannis Antetokounmpo and you can trade some other picks and stuff too? Is it worth going for it right now? De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Victor Wembanyama, Giannis Antetokounmpo. That team is absolutely nasty. But there's a few other things, like I said, with Giannis. After the Spurs landing 2 and 14 were extremely flexible, there was this tweet from NBA Central. Giannis Antetokounmpo was reportedly intrigued by the idea of playing in a state with no income tax. So what I also want to say is that there's 2 other teams in this state. There's 2 other teams in Texas. And the fact that the Dallas Mavericks were kind of just on the outside looking in at Giannis, and now with the number 1 overall pick, is there a world the Mavericks trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo? I don't even want to put that in our minds, but even earlier, the Houston Rockets had a higher likelihood than San Antonio. Even the Oklahoma City Thunder were up there in terms of teams that were likely to trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo. But right now, again, with the number 2 pick, if you're the Dallas Mavericks, I don't know anything about what Nico Harrison's doing because after watching the reaction from Cooper Flagg, yeah, I mean, look, he's probably shocked by it all. I'm just saying the reaction from Victor Wembanyama was a lot different than the one we got out of Cooper Flagg. Looking at that organization, Nico Harrison is, yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say about him. Dallas fans definitely don't like him. A lot of the rest of the NBA fans think he's a hack, he's a fraud, whatever it is. The basketball gods have blessed him, or if you believe in rigging or you believe Adam Silver's pulling the strings behind the scenes, so be it. That's fine too, but at the end of the day, Dallas has the number 1 pick. There's no going back on that. And I'm starting to wonder if they could make a move for him. But if they don't, right, I'm starting to theorize that something crazy is going to happen with the Spurs. And it's not, again, it's not even just starting, right? Like we're talking a real likelihood right now. Now, there were also reports I want to bring up that the Spurs are apparently very happy with the number 2 pick. And there's some reports circulating that, hey, the Spurs probably wouldn't even consider moving it in the package for Giannis. But to that I say, why not us? Why not now? Well, look what we got. Look what we got Fox for. If we can swing this deal without including Stephon Castle, because this is the whole thing, right? I mean, we've been talking about these two the Spurs pick and the Atlanta pick at 8 and 14. We were saying package those, maybe Stephon Castle, Keldon Johnson, and Devin Vassell, and Sochan, whatever. But now, if you don't have to include Castle. I mean, like, here's another thing. Like, there's a real chance that Dylan Harper ends up better than Stephon Castle. That's the crazy thing here. If Dylan Harper was in last year's draft, would you have had him above Castle? I personally would have, and I think a lot of people would have. Dylan Harper could have gone number 1 in last year's draft. So, did I say Victor Wembanyama's reaction was last year? I might have said that earlier, but regardless, I don't even know. It's getting late at night. I'm reeling from all this going on. So, at that point, it's like, do you think you may be okay with trading Castle if you can keep Dylan Harper, if you can go in this Giannis trade? Or do you keep, Stephon Castle, you trade Dylan Harper for Giannis Antetokounmpo? I'm just saying there's a more real possibility than ever right now for the San Antonio Spurs to make this deal. But I need to hear from you guys because right now, I don't know what I feel. I know we're going to get a lot of reports coming out. You might be able to tell in this today. Like, I'm conflicted. I'm beyond conflicted because part of me is like, bring in Giannis. Like, I put it to you this way. If you woke up tomorrow morning and you saw a tweet from Shams on your phone, we're getting close to the mic for this. Picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning, you roll out of bed, you grab your phone. It's like the Luka Doncic trade all over again. You look, it's Shams Charania. He says, the San Antonio Spurs have traded the number 2 overall pick in the draft, the number 14 overall pick in the draft, Jeremy Sochan, Devin Vassell, and 3 other future firsts for Giannis Antetokounmpo. How do you feel? Do you feel happy that Giannis is a Spur? Do you feel I don't know what to feel? And I think your reaction to that tells you all you need to know about how you're going to feel about this trade. I think my first reaction would be, holy my Giannis is a Spur. And you think about the other stuff after. Could it look bad in a number of years? Maybe. But this kind of opportunity doesn't come very often. But also, it's hard for me to go against Pop in the front office and saying, look, build from within. How much have we heard so much recently about Spurs culture? How much have we heard about how building from internally is what works out the best for San Antonio? We've seen it with Mitch Johnson. Pop stepping up, Mitch Johnson coming up from the ranks and taking over the head coaching job. It would not mirror that to trade away the number 2 overall draft pick for Giannis. So at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to happen, but it really could. Something crazy is going to happen regardless. I mean, even if we just pick at number 2, hey, how can you be upset with that? There's a bunch of stuff going to go down. I got to hear your guys' opinion. That'll do it for this episode of Spurs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of stuff coming out very, very soon. Some more in-depth videos, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, even maybe some Cooper Flagg if we see any speculation, but we have all that coming to you very, very soon. I've been your host, Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you in the next one. This is getting crazy.